again, when I'm speaking about materialism and all of the issues, based on that verse, corruption is al-khuruj min al-i'tidal. So it is being unbalanced. So we have to live in the material world. But when materialism becomes the object of life, when we place the gaining of materials above our morality, then we're going out of balance. It's got to be balanced. So we need to deal with this life and the hereafter, and this holistic way of looking. So definitely, if materialism becomes the object of life, then this is one of the major problems, and that's part of the reason why I believe they couldn't come together in Copenhagen. Another question is, will industrial countries ever decrease their consumption, as all these countries are now competing with each other? Well, it is our hope and prayer that they do. I mean, I believe in the next 10 years, we are going to see some environmental crises. It's going to force everybody to change. We are going to be literally driven by the environment to make serious changes. So whether I like it or not, or you like it or not, when that ice freeze comes down, when that tsunami hits, when that flood hits, then this will bring about the change, whether we want to or not. Allah said He will make us taste something of what we have earned. Another question is, can we take lessons from the Prophet ﷺ, his life about a decrease in our consumption? Yes, when we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we see that he was extremely modest in terms of how he ate. And there was a very interesting question that came up, because one of the points in Copenhagen was that, and this was being pushed by vegetarians, that said part of the problem is the consumption of meat. It's the whole production around meat and the consumption of meat. So should Muslims stop eating meat? And this is a serious question. And I know that for some Muslims, if there's no meat on the plate, he didn't eat dinner yet. You understand? Meat is like food for some people, right? I mean, we are extreme carnivores, right? But the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ actually only ate meat, he ate meat very rarely. Very rarely. Only a few times a month. Okay? So really, if you look closely at the Sunnah, you will see that it was not 3 squares, with meat, on our table. But actually the real Sunnah is to cut down. And if it means to cut down our consumption of meat and the whole production, then that's fine. Whatever we have to do. We're not becoming vegetarians religiously, because that's another religion. But in terms of the practicality of it, yes, we should. We should cut it down as much as we possibly can. It says, can you explain how promoting modesty will help the environment? When we are saying the word haya, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, to the effect of inna al-haya min al-iman, that haya, or modesty and decency, is part of faith. Now, what does haya mean? It doesn't mean just wearing long clothes, because somebody could be wearing long clothes and be extremely immodest, even though they have long clothes. Modesty is knowing the limits, the hudud. It's your limits with people. There are certain limits that we have with each other. And so knowing the limits prescribed by God and having a shyness. It's not just shy in the sense of weak, but it is a shyness, in front of God. Because Allah knows everything that we're doing. And so it's a shyness in God, to be doing things that are wrong. And so this is haya. And haya is very important in people, to have this limitation in what we do. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. If you don't have haya, then do what you want to do. Like you're capable of doing anything, because you don't have limits. And so really, this is what we mean by modesty. It starts within the individual, and it's really shyness to oppress other people, to go over the limits, shyness, in the presence of God, and that should impact on a person in everything that he or she does. It says, regarding working together to protect the environment, there is a view that current governments' initiatives, I'm not sure, disadvantage these power nations such as China to reduce their progression. Yeah, hypocritically they benefit from it. Do you agree? Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that said. Maybe you can read the other one. Okay, very practical question. It said, you know, everything is easier said than done. What do you suppose can be the first step? The first step is to start with ourselves. And how we consume, and you know, even in terms of the rubbish that we have in our house, where do you throw your rubbish? You know, and you know, how do we relate to what can we do to relate to the environment? You know, the MSA, you know, there's moves being made, you know, by the group here, you know, to do something for the environment. We need to start to do something instead of just talking. You know, to get involved in, you know, green initiatives in any way that we possibly can to support people who are doing green initiatives. We had a program to plant trees in Mali, where we raised funds to plant trees in Mali. Okay, so any way that you can participate in something which will enhance the environment, you know, in this struggle, you know, then this really is, you know, a commendable Islamic action. It's Islamic. It's just as important as praying 2 rakats, 2 units of prayer inside of the mosque.
Similar questions. So the first question says, regarding working together to protect the environment, certain government authorities who are industrial nations are telling other nations like China who are speeding up to reduce in the name of the environment. Is that hypocrisy, and are we reinforcing that?
Well, really, I mean, I have for years, I mean, I work in the community, like grassroots as they say. What happens in the higher circles is sometimes very confusing, especially when we have crisis right in front of us, you know, and we can't come together. So, you know, politics, you know, some people describe in America, we would describe it not as politics, but polytricks. And so we have to become sincere with each other. And we need to pressurize those representatives we have in government, you know, to be straightforward and serious and deal with this environmental issue as one of the important challenges facing humanity in the 21st century. And that starts on the ground level, because a politician needs votes. Politicians need votes. So from the community level, we can begin to pressurize our representatives, you know, to put this in as one of the important issues we need to deal with. It says it has been predicted that 2050 there will be an increased threefold of agricultural demand, and have been pressured to invest in agri sections. So they are turning to GM production, genetic modification. You know, this therefore goes against the balance. Yes, this, you know, really we can come out of this situation if we cooperate with each other and we use more of our wealth, take it out of the military industry and some of these other industries and put it towards agriculture and our society. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of wealth. It's a matter of reorientation of our budgets and the way we see ourselves, you know, as human beings. This is crucial because the tsunami is waiting for us. The glacier is waiting for us. And I don't know how long it's going to take us to wake up, to come to grips, you know, with the situation that we are in.
Similar to the earlier question, it says, you mentioned that countries should have sustainable ways of producing and consumption and also reproducing, but many countries in the third world are very behind in terms of development technology and industry. How can they catch up using the system that you proposed is the question?
Well, you know, there is a need for a real empowerment, and that means through education and through people who have the expertise, you know, to be funded to go into the developing countries, you know, to help these countries develop. Because literally, I know in the case of Africa, we have been underdeveloped. We have been underdeveloped for the past few hundred years. And so that cooperation needs to start happening, you know, so that the countries who are behind with expertise and knowledge of what's going on